I'm
What's up,
just
man?
working on some skates. So yeah, while I'm just working, I have time to chit chat. Whatever you want.
Love it. Well, maybe we can start just with a brief introduction for yourself and maybe your hockey story.
Well, I'm so my name is Peter Gubernator, and yes, that's my real last name. And all my coaches called me Gooby. So when I decided to start a company that was clearly growing, I just called it Guby Customs because it was fitting. But now, ironically, people who only know me as Gooby call me the Gubernator, and confuses me because my real last name wasn't never public. Um, and I've played hockey since I was a kid. I mean, I love playing. I like playing outdoors more than I like playing on a team. But yeah, I've played hockey I would say my whole life, and really customizing my skates started in the early 90s when everybody had CCM tacks with like the white stripe. Everybody on my team had those, so I decided to start coloring that white stripe just because I wanted to be different. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for myself forever, now nearly 30 years. And when COVID hit, um, I decided to open up an Instagram account to see, just to expose what I was doing, really, because my whole life everybody made fun of it. Um, it was like, why would you do that? Why would you paint your skates? And I was like, okay, because I like it. Like, well, what's your problem? And so I was always really shy about it. So during COVID, I kind of lost, my job. I had nothing to do. So I had a bunch of skates and I started painting them like just kind of like how I was feeling that day. Um, and yeah, I would just post them up on Instagram. And all of a sudden, like Curtis Gabriel, who was playing for the Sharks at the time, he just calls me up randomly. He saw my Instagram. He was like, "Listen, I love what you do. I want to do something for the LGBTQ movement and the Black Lives Matter movement. What are you thinking? Like, can we do something together?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man, for sure." Um, and it really started with him who loved what I did, who promoted my work on his platform, and then yeah, a few other interested players called me up. I did a few projects. I think I'm on like 7 pairs now with Anthony Duclair. I did 2 pairs for Jonathan Drouin. And it was just wild, wild to get like recognized for something that people used to make fun of me for. So that's kind of been growing since COVID, and it hasn't stopped. Like it hasn't stopped at all. Just all the time, man. Just I get, and I only have an Instagram account. Like I don't promote anything. It's just each client kind of promotes their own stuff, and yeah, I just keep getting calls, and when the names are getting bigger and bigger, and like recently I did skates for Ty Gretzky, and he calls me up on Instagram, and we chatted because why did we chat? Yes, the All-Star game. So I did skates for Mitch Marner at the All-Star game, the black ones, not the white ones. So I only did the black ones, and and he wore them in the game. He actually wore the skates in the whole game. So it was wild to watch. And then the story behind that skate. Sorry, I'm just kind of
No, I
just
love
putting
this.
down. Okay, so I'm done with this. So I was so the story behind the All-Star game was the jersey was a retro reverse to the 94 All-Star game. So when True called me and said, "Listen, we got to do these skates for Mitch," I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it." And I did my research about what was so special about 94. And in 94, Wayne Gretzky wore like these all blacked out skates with black holders, probably one of the last players who was so fashionably inclined on the ice. So I was like, okay, you know what? Gretzky, Canada, greatest player, Mitch Marner, Canadian boy. I'm gonna try to do like a nod to Wayne Gretzky, just because the NHL is doing the reverse to 94. So I did that, and then I spoke to Ty Gretzky after the All-Star game, and I told him that story. I said, "Listen, like the reasons why I did this was because of your dad." And he goes, "Oh, you know what? I'd love to do some skates as a tribute to my dad." And then as we're talking, I'm like, "Yo, we're talking about your dad, but your dad is Wayne Gretzky. Like it's like you don't understand, because to you it's your dad, but to me it's like he's an icon." So he definitely understood that, because I'm a hockey fan first, and then I'm just this lucky guy who designs skates. Like that comes after being a hockey fan. So we start talking. We start talking about what he wanted. And he said, "Okay, listen, my dad wore blue holders when he was in like the 80s with the Oilers." And I go, "Okay, cool." And I'm pretty much the only person who can tint plastic that I've seen on social media. So I said, "Yeah, okay, you want blue holders? I'll make blue holders." And then he goes, "And then whatever else you want to do, just kind of make it Oilers colors. And I want the Adidas logo, because they sponsor the Gretzky Hockey School and they do a lot of stuff for the NHL." And I was like, "Okay, so Adidas, we got the blue holders. Anything else?" He's like, "And just do whatever you think." So I took some pictures off the internet. I kind of looked at his old skates. And like I always loved those vintage skates that had brown leather. And I don't know if Gretzky wore them, but he definitely had the same brand. So I said, "You know what? Since we're doing kind of a vintage thing, I'm gonna paint the skates brown." And like the whole brown, blue, orange, and white with the blue holders like turned out so good. And when I sent them back to him, even though I know that it's my work, like I'm jealous. I get jealous. I don't want to send skates back because I want them for myself. They're so nice. So he loved them. He sent me a bunch of texts recently, like pictures of him on the ice, and I said, if your dad ever sees them, I'd love to know what his reaction was. And he told me that he showed them and he saw them, and Wayne said that he loved them. So yeah, very cool kind of process in the last 3 years since COVID. Is just been growing so much, man. It's wild, pretty wild stuff.
All of your stuff is always so visually stimulating. I was wondering where you kind of like got your inspiration from, and it makes a lot of sense that you're like a fan of hockey first. You like get like what
Yeah,
old gear used to look like, and what I think a word lost today is like traditional. Like there's a
yeah,
traditional style of gear that if you grew up playing in the 90s because you didn't have access to Amazon, everything was secondhand, and you
Yeah,
got
yeah,
stuff that somebody wore before in the
yeah,
80s, and it was worn by somebody who designed it or played in the 70s. And
yeah.
so that makes a lot of sense, and that's so cool. And I think that's another thing that this generation doesn't have a lot of is like secondhand gear. When I was growing
Right.
up playing in the 90s, like customization was so cool, and you looked to guys to customize stuff because it wasn't as easy to shop back then. Or, I grew up in the Midwest where hockey wasn't big.
Yeah.
Gretzky did play here in St. Louis for a couple of years when I was a kid, but
Right.
it was really hard to get hockey gear. And so when you would like go to a tournament or somebody would have like a yard sale and you'd get a secondhand pair of something, very much influenced by like the ska, skateboarder 90s. Yeah, oh, those are sweet. Love those. And like you would always like take a marker to it, or
Yeah.
whatever you could. There was no way of like researching like fabric paint and stuff back then, and so
That's
usually
true.
you would try spray painting something and it would fall apart or ruin it, and you know
Well,
but
that's
character.
what happened. That's what happened. I failed at so many things. I never liked the drawing on paper. I liked the drawing on walls, on my parents' cars, on my clothes, on my shoes, and then all of a sudden, you ruin your clothes or you scratch the car or you ruin the paint in the house. And like I got in trouble a lot discovering what I like to do. So I totally understand. And when you ask like where do I get my inspiration from? So yes, I have a lot of knowledge of like the Nike era in hockey, which was just crazy. Um, just amazing styles, very different. But I get very emotionally invested in each pair of skates because each person will call me and go, listen, this is what I want. I want this because of this reason. I want this color because of this reason. And then I feel what they want and why they want it. And most projects are like super exciting because they're excited about it. I actually just did a project um, that was a very sad one. So it was a very like draining on me to like constantly feel what the family was feeling. It was a kid. His name is Preston. He sadly ended his life at the age of 13, and his parents wanted me to make some skates, like commemorative skates. But like I spoke to the family. I kind of saw what they wanted, and then I get invested in that way, and it inspired me to make some skates that the family ultimately loves. But it was tough, like I could tear up like doing those skates, just as I get super excited doing skates for like this kid right here. He's going to be playing in the brick tournament, which is an invitational tournament in Edmonton, and I'm going to meet him to deliver the skates. And this kid and his parents are super excited. So every time we talk, like I get hyped. So that's where my inspiration comes from. I get kind of guided a little bit by the skater. Like they kind of go, like I'm doing skates right now. The girl said she wants hot pink and SpongeBob. And then I was like, oh, wicked. So I started watching a little bit of SpongeBob just to kind of see like I had never watched it before. And oh man, it's really cool show. Characters are really cool. So like I got an idea to kind of make a really cool skate for her. So that's gonna start tomorrow. But yeah, it's man, it's cool. It's really cool, and I like that it's catching on now because I think hockey right now, the traditional like simple kind of designs like black skates or kind of just a little bit gray is getting boring. So the people that I work with, they kind of think the same way. They go, okay, listen, I don't want the same thing as everybody else. And I'm like, yes, yes, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of along those lines. Why do you think like individual style is important, or kind
Well,
of riff on the
because
topic of?
everybody likes different things, and so I went to a private school. Okay, so I wore a uniform. Everybody wore a uniform, and we weren't allowed to have our own style. And I always wanted to rebel against that because I never liked fashion. Like I don't like I like what I like. And at a certain point in time, people say I'm out of fashion because of the clothes I wear. But then, like 5 years later, they'll go, dude, you were ahead of your time because you were wearing that. And I was like, no, 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 no. No, no, no. I'm nothing. I just buy clothes and I wear it. It's not fashion. I kind of match my own colors and that's it. So individual style is like your individual opinion and is like your individual um it's like the message you want to send out to the world, like, hey, this is me. I'm don't judge me because I woke up this morning and I put on what I wanted to put on, not thinking about anybody else's opinion of me. And that I think is something that's been lost a lot is people care too much about what other people think of them. And I mean, social media is a big part of it. I mean, there's people who just sit behind their computers and hate on stuff all day long. Um, it kind of sucks, I think. But yeah, that's why I think people who want this done, like some people want chrome skates. Yes, like you're out there, you're you're super confident about your like pulling off chrome skates on the ice is pretty. That's pretty cool. But it's all about your own thing, your own style, and you don't have to be super flashy to have your own style. Like if you want to wear all black, wear all black if you like it. Um, and yeah, I mean, this kid, I'm super jealous. Like I'm kind of stealing the skates now, but like the guy he has the Rangers uniform. So when he first called me, I said, Rangers, sick. I want to make an all red skate and then an all blue skate. And then we kind of talked, and he was like, yeah, listen, like he's the kid is not super flashy, but he's flashy with his play. Like his skills are flashy, but he doesn't want to be super flashy on the ice. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make a matte black skate with a Rangers colors accents, and like it came out like pretty cool. And I'm thrilled. Hang on. I got an yes. Sorry, I was getting another
You're
call.
good. Those look amazing.
Thank you. And like they're both different. Like both skates are different, but they're kind of the same style. And oh yeah, it's gonna be. I'm about to post these because now I'm sealing them up like with my final touches, and I'm about to post them. There's a few pairs actually that I haven't posted yet because some of them are surprises for the kids, some of them are surprises for the player. Some of them were actually being just finished up, so I'm going to post those. These ones that are right here, I'm actually under contract to not show them until they're unveiled. So very, very interesting stuff happening.
Project X skates. I love it. That's the coolest thing. Well, style is and brand is becoming so important, especially for like some of these players at the AHL and ECHL and NHL level. Like
Yeah.
their brand is them in a hockey uniform. And like, I don't know if you ever heard the old myth that reason why like hockey players aren't popular in pop culture is because we wear like a helmet and our faces are covered. You really can't like notice them out and walking along the streets unless you live in Canada, like you could maybe a
Yeah.
basketball player or soccer player or one of
Right.
these other things. And so I think that has a lot to do with like why individual styles becoming a little bit more accented on is
Yeah.
like if you're representing yourself as and you have a business entity within yourself as a brand now, it's like what's a style differentiator or what's my own touch? Like I love monogram stuff. Like I also went to a private school, a Catholic school growing up. And so like if you got like monogram stuff, like that was swagged out. And so as an adult, like if it doesn't come monogrammed, like that's usually one of the first things. And so like most people my age, 35-year-old males aren't like, oh, I like monograms and I like embossed things, but it's
Yeah.
like, I have a taste for those and I like those and that's part of my style. It's when these large manufacturers start coming off with those things as like stock that I kind of like, I'm like you. I'm like, it's not really trendy. I'm not before the trend or after the trend. It's like, it's what I liked. And
Mhm.
because everything in social media now, you're one picture away from a million, 4 million, 10 million people seeing it, and all of a sudden it becomes the new thing, especially if it's exclusive. Like a lot of the stuff you do, I think that why it's so popular is it's so custom and individualized and individual pieces and specific to the person that, they like and share your skates or that you make for somebody else, not because maybe they want to wear those skates, but they see the attention to detail and they're like, wow, if I had a pair of skates, what would I put on it? What colors would mine be? Or like, oh, I love dogs. I didn't even think about putting a dog head on the tongue of my skate like that guy did, or developing a logo around like my personality or. And so
That's a big yeah, you're absolutely right. I've done many skates where people have commented and went, I don't like those. And then I go, okay, good. But you know what? Your opinion doesn't matter because I made one of these skates for one player and that player loves them. So what would you do to your skates? And then this whole dialogue starts where, oh, I'd love to do this. Okay, send me your skates. And then boom, right away. And then it's like, why you hating on this? Like, this is not even yours. You're not paying for them. You're never going to see them except on social media. This is not one of your teammates. So, so what you said is absolutely right. Like these, I have a lot of people earlier on when I was starting, not anymore recently because I think the message was sent by me answering these people was everybody who would write a bad comment was just because they didn't like that particular pair. But then they would look at other stuff and they'd be like, oh, I actually like those. Yeah, okay. But like, what would you want to do for you? Like that one of a kind thing for you. And uh, it's tough. It's tough to sometimes get through to people, but they uh everybody kind of seems to like I mean everybody who's following me right now, they they like they like to see it, and like the ideas are starting to flow, the exposure is definitely getting there. So it's yeah, it's very true that this one of a kind custom stuff is still a new concept, especially in hockey and especially in skates, because I don't want to do teams. You know, I don't think I could do teams because I'm just by myself and I like doing the one of a kinds. But yeah, I mean, I'm having so much fun with this right now that everybody that I meet is just super nice and super invested in kind of promoting this because it's new and it's something that they think is cool.
What so I worked in a ECHL locker room for a couple seasons as a hockey ops like intern advisor. And I
Yeah,
spent a lot of time hanging out with the equipment manager. And one of my close friends is an equipment manager in the SPHL. And so we love like tinkering with stuff. But I learned so much about skates in like 1 or 2 seasons by working with him on pairs of skates that I thought about customizing all the things in my skates that like people don't even know exist in the size of the skates. Like I feel like most people don't know that regardless of if you buy your skates off the rack or go with True or something, like you can swap the tongues. Like, do you like a
yeah,
thinner tongue? Do you like one with a lot of padding, like a traditional one? Do you want to put your numbers on the tongue or your logo there? Your insoles, like Bauer played around with for a while and CCM with different types of insoles. And
yeah,
you see other industries like running right now. There's like a big push for these like carbon fiber insoles and stuff and like
yeah,
footbeds and toe caps, like finding players that like are a 7.5, but they like a size 8 toe cap or a 9 toe cap. You'd be like, how did you ever think to? And they're like, well, it makes sense. Like, why would you just pick one skate off when you can like customize it to fit your footbed or your
right.
ankle or these other, the tendon guard was a big one. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
there's like 7 different styles of tendon guards on here.
yeah, yeah,
Shot blockers, like, are you going to go with I like the plastic clear ones that you can like paint on and hydro dip and stuff, but then all of a sudden there's been a resurgence of like Kevlar and this stuff that you just like apply on with a sheet and a heat gun and it's as strong as a boot. And it's like, oh well,
yeah,
like most people don't realize like these names. It's like shoemaking,
yeah,
a
yeah,
cobbler in a sense of like those different nails and the different pieces of the leather in a shoe correlate a lot to hockey skates. And it's
yeah,
fun to see like an old pair of boots like from the 1920s and then see a pair of skates from the 1920s. You're like,
yeah.
oh, it's just a boot. Like that's why they call it a hockey boot.
Yeah.
It's because they used to be just boots.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. I've seen an old pair, and that right away it was like the same thing. There was like zero. It was like a running shoe attached to like some nails, kind of thing. Yeah, I've
you
seen
know,
it.
Up until the 70s. I mean, until Gretzky switched, I think for a while, if you look at some early pictures of Gretzky's and the skates that he's in, they're like 100% leather skate. You're
Yeah,
like, my ankles hurt just looking at them.
yeah, yeah. I actually have a well, I have a pair of Nike skates that I had. I don't even know. I don't even know where they're at. Anyways, if you like look at like my skate wall here, but yeah, I had a pair of Nike skates, and I've kept them since like the mid '90s, and I took them to the outdoor rinks like maybe last winter or 2 winters ago. Wow, they were like heavy. My ankles hurt. It was so weird. I was able to like tie them up super tight, which I never like my carbon skates. They're never tight. It was like the weirdest thing, and I was like, wow, I skated in these, and like they were comfortable and high performance then. It was yeah, it's weird. The whole technology advancement is something super fun. Uh, I did know about all the custom tongues and even like the undersoles. Some people like plastic, some people like carbon. Uh, yeah, I did know about that. I worked in a hockey store for a while, but yes, it's I don't do any of it because people send me their skates. So they sent me like the skates that they've been wearing for, a season, 2 seasons. Some people send me brand new skates also. So I don't switch anything because they sent me their already purchased skates that they like already. Um, but yeah, if I was definitely working in a store or in a shop or like for a team, those would be things that I would be playing with all the time.
Yeah. And I think it just more so like opens up people's awareness to like that there's individual parts to every skate, and,
Yeah,
So you use it as a canvas, and so it's not just like a skate. I think that probably when you get sent most designs, everybody like in their mental mind thinks of the skate like this way. Like they're
Yeah,
like, I want something here and here, and but like there's so much more to a skate, especially like
yeah,
if you're gonna sit over your skates the whole time, like you yourself are looking at this. Like if
yeah.
I'm gonna customize the first part of my skate, like I'm more interested to something I can see on the top, making the art visible to me versus everybody else. But like it's all in like maybe how creative you are as a person, and I think that that's one of the things I like about your art is like it gets people thinking about that. I love that.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I've been listen, like I've been made fun of so long, and I could have quit easily. So many people told me it was stupid. So to hear like to get start getting recognized and people liking it now is like a very nice change of pace for me. It's a lot of fun, and now I don't have to like kind of be ashamed of what I do. But yeah, thank you. I mean, I've been and you said something before, the used stuff, the used store, or getting stuff secondhand. Well, when I started customizing, I would go to the secondhand store and I would try to sell my skates, and the people there would be like, "You ruined these skates. We can't sell them." And I'd be like, "Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry." Like, and I would apologize because now my parents can't get money for these used skates because I colored them. And I thought that I colored them and they looked wicked and they look cool. And I kept getting told, like, listen, you ruined these skates. And I was like, ah. But I didn't, I never stopped. See, that's the thing. Some people will hear that, in any profession or whatever, and they'll be like, okay, listen, enough people have told me I'm going to stop doing this. And I just never did. I was too stubborn, I guess. And I guess I liked my stuff too much. And now I kind of think about it, and I'm like, I wonder if I went to the store now, what they would say, you know? So, but I won't do that because I mean, it's now I'm doing just skates for other people, and my own skates, well, I keep them as my samples. So I always, whenever I meet people, I always bring some skates and I kind of show off like what it looks like in real life if I meet them like in town. And other than that, I always do video chats with anybody that I work for, just so I can take down notes, and they kind of see it from the pictures. Like earlier on, I had a lot of trust issues. Like I kind of, I was very nervous, because I was just kind of starting out, and like the first clients were kind of still big names, like when when you do a few pairs for beer leaguers or kids, you're like, oh, okay, and then an NHLer calls you, and you're like, am I ready for this? Like, and I wasn't sure if I was ready, and then I'd watch games, biting my nails, just like, is it gonna fall off? Is he gonna injure himself? Is like, what's gonna happen? And within 3 years, so it's been 3 years, within 3 years I'm now able to like send off a pair in full confidence and just be like, listen, you're all set. So it's been a nice journey, definitely ups and downs and stuff, but man, I'm having a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with everything, and I'm learning a lot. So yes, it's always fun now that like people call me up and they go, "Hey, you want to chat about what you love to do?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I love doing that."
That's
So
it's refreshing, and I appreciate you taking the time. It's not easy to like hop on and it. talk about what you do. I know like there's especially artists, you're considered an artist. Some people have, don't feel comfortable talking about themselves as much as they feel comfortable expressing themselves on their art. So it's been fun chatting with you. I'll definitely have to send you a pair of skates or link up with you for some designs. Where can everybody follow you, find you, and interact with you and support you?
So on Instagram at Guby_Customs. So Guby. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much the only place. I answer all my messages. I always interact with most people who leave comments on any skate or that message me like in DMs. I always have time to answer a few. I take like maybe 1 or 2 hours out of my day every day to answer messages. So once in the morning, once at night, and yeah, then basically the process is I chat on Instagram, then they send me their skates. I work on their skates after a video chat, and then I ship back the skates. I also work with Blade Tech Hockey. They do all my blades. So generally, my projects include custom blades. I am actually doing a pair right now. The guy ordered two extra blades, and both are different designs. So it's like I'm super excited. And yeah, that's really it, man. Instagram is what I opened. Instagram is what I operate, and that's kind of like the only way.
Cool. Well, Gooby, thank you so much for chatting with me. We'll stay in touch. We'll have to do a part two. I'll always make sure to reshare all of your skates as you post them and try and direct some people your way. So thanks for taking some time to chat with us
Great.
today.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and I can't wait to hear the podcast.